Hello, viewers and listeners of Voice Out with Osas. Welcome to episode 2 of Trapped by Love. Voice Out with Osas is a confidential storytelling podcast created for people facing abuse, trauma, or overwhelming life challenges. Here, guests are given the option to remain completely anonymous while sharing their experiences in a respectful and supportive environment. This platform exists to create understanding, healing, and connection for those who feel unheard. If you have been silenced, this is your invitation to speak. So we have our anonymous guest here, so going to tell us more, and I'm going to ask a couple questions in this episode 2, because episode 1 was pre-wedding issues, dating, courting. So now we are diving into episode 2, where we'll talk more about what happened from the wedding night. Hello, Anonymous. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Osas, for having me once again. It's a privilege being here.
Okay. So how are you doing today?
I'm better. I'm getting there, one day at a time.
Okay. So are you ready for episode 2?
Yes, as ready as I can be.
Okay. So my first question to our anonymous guest is, was there a moment when you were locked out of your home?
Most definitely. During the first 2-3 years of the marriage, the abuse actually started and intensified at the same time. It was back to back. Mainly, like I explained myself the other time, it was immediately after the wedding was over, the real personality behind this human came out, and it was tilted towards just making me feel, this kind of trapped, whereby you cannot be independent to do anything for yourself. So I guess that was the goal. Honestly, looking back now, I would say that was the goal. The goal was to keep me incapacitated. And the more I'm incapacitated, I can't make my own decisions, talk more of wanting to have my own freedom. So from manipulation comes trying to prevent me from being independent financially, making sure that I was not financially stable, talk more of wanting to leave and doing my own thing, or doing stuff for myself, or protecting myself and my kids. Because at that time I had my son, who was born shortly after the marriage. And this particular incident actually stood out among all the other abuse. In fact, I would say that was what kickstarted the motion, so to speak. So on this unfaithful weekend, after dinner, I was making, after you do your normal wifely duty, making sure there's meal on the table, and it was a good meal. I still remember, like yesterday, I expressed my desire to wanting to start my own business, because at that time, it made me quit my job. The company I was working for, in fact, it was like a government job that I had prior to the marriage. He made sure I quit, the job, so that in his own opinion, he wanted me to have time just for him and the kids that will come in the marriage, more like being a full-time housewife. And of course, that didn't sit well with me. But at that time, I got pregnant too, not too long after the wedding. So that really made me weak. First time being pregnant, first pregnancy, dealing with all those emotional highs and lows, and all those, everything that comes with pregnancy. So I couldn't even fight it because I didn't have the physical strength to do so at that time. Now, years after the child was born, and I think about then my son was about 2 years old, when I now felt that I could be free now to do something, because I was raised in a home whereby being financially independent was a thing. That's how we were raised in my family. So it was a no-brainer for me to just be a full-time housewife. And if I was asked, did we talk about it during courtship that I would be a full-time housewife? No, there was no conversations like that. So fast forward to that unfaithful night, I told him about my intention of starting my own business. I had flair for beauty and makeup, and I told him I wanted to take more training on that. Since I couldn't work for any company, at least have my own company, whereby I will be rendering such services to people, and also have students I could train, and they could graduate from my school, makeup school, and get certified and, do their own thing. And I thought it was a very, since it was also anti-men, so to speak, me working with men, I actually felt this would be a fantastic idea, because I only have to work with girls, right? only females do makeup and no male. So I thought there's no reason why it should be against it. And it wasn't that it was also capital intensive. Yeah, it doesn't require a lot of finance to start up. Long story short, I was perturbed when his response was, no, you are not going to open any business. I don't want you to work. I want you to be a full-time housewife. And at that time, I thought I prepared all my speech, like, there's no way this is going to affect the family. At that time, I had a nanny, and my son was 2. He can follow me to work. And in fact, the business establishment was going to be, I would start from working from home first. So it was more like me being at home working with a client out there. So it wasn't more like even getting my own studio at that time. It was more like me working from home. And I even proved to him, like, I've been doing it and he's been paying me, paying off, So there's no reason why you can't support me. Even if it's not financially, but at least that moral support you expect from your spouse, right? But anyway, I was so surprised when everything turned to it became very mad, very angry. Like, why am I always trying to push for independence? Why can't I just be contented with having sustenance and covering? Why is that not just enough? And I said, for me, that is not sufficient, because I need to be able to have something for my kids. I need to be able to grow something for myself in the future, because I cannot see myself as just being a full-time housewife. So long story short, it became violent, like I said, and it escalated real quick. Long story short, he went violent. It was like, you are always stubborn. You are always stubborn. You don't do things as I say. And before you know, he dashed out of the home. The living room, we were sitting by the dining table. And then he was going to go to the room and get his belt out, to hit his kid, so to speak. And yes, I know we have almost a decade in between us, but I'm not your child. I'm your wife. So at that point, I was like, you seriously? You're going to hit me?
You mean waist belt?
Waist belt, like a man's waist belt, about 2-inch thickness. Let me say width, and a few inch thickness. So it was like going to go grab it. So I quickly bolted the door that was in between the living room and the bedroom. So I bolted the door. Luckily, there was a door. So I bolted it, and you couldn't gain access in. But there was also a small window between that space and where I was that it was talking out from, like, I need you to open this door right now, threatening, making all sorts of threats. And I was like, I'm not going to open it until you calm down. You have to just calm down. We are having a conversation here. It's not enough to want to start hitting me. So at that point, it got really upset. It went on. And then my son was crying because my son had been sleeping. Then he woke up because of the noise, and he started crying. And then after a while, I saw that he took the key to the room, made the boy fall asleep, locked the door where the boy was, and then came back and still started making threats. Open this door. And I said, I'm not going to open it until you calm down. So before I know, it went upward to like midnight. And to cut the long story short, I ended up sleeping in the living room that night. In Africa, we have this electric switch. It turned off all the electricity in the home. And I couldn't have...
That's the main switch.
The main switch, and then I couldn't have air in the living room. And in Africa, we have a lot of mosquitoes. Mosquito beat me to silly that night. I even had to unhung one of the curtains so that I can use it to cover myself, because to prevent a lot of bite from the mosquito. About early morning hours, let me say about 1-2 a.m. when I needed to use the restroom, I called out to him. Like, at that time, I was already tired. I was already weak. I called out to him. I was just like, please, can you open the door? I need to use the restroom. But he would not answer me. He did not respond.
You were in the sitting room, so there's a door that links to the main room.
Yeah, the bedroom.
That leads to the toilet. Because he shuts that door.
Yeah.
He couldn't have access to you.
Yes.
And you couldn't have access to the bathroom.
Exactly. And so what had happened was I bolted the door at the back, but he had used the key to lock it from the outside. So there was a bolt at the back, but there was a key to lock up front. So he kind of like grabbed the key and locked me into the living room. So even if I unbolt the door, there's still no way for me to gain access out because the key was with him. So the exit to the building, exit out of the building is at the sitting room, right? The exit out of the building was not out of the building. The exit out of the living room, Yes, we have one exit to the balcony, like the patio. There was an exit to the patio, but the main exit out of the building was the main entrance. And I did mention it here. I was living on the 3rd floor. So this is the 3rd floor. So there was no way I could even jump out of the window. There was no way I could jump out of the patio. So because this was the 3rd floor, it was 3rd floor high. So at that point, the only thing I could do was just to calm him down and plead and ask him to open the door so I could use the restroom. And at the end of the day, he still did not respond. I had to do what I got to do. So I ended up using the restroom in the patio. Funny enough, and sad to say, the patio is also connected to the window of the bedroom, the master's bedroom. So that was the room he was with my son. So he could actually hear me
pee on the floor.
On the floor from the window. But I'm going in detail just to kind of explain the kind of human being I lived with. All of this did not move him. No human sympathy, no kindness. It was just my way or the highway. So that was one experience that actually stayed with me a long time. And if you ask, how did I get out of the situation at the end of the day? So this happened on a Saturday night up to Sunday morning. By Sunday morning, at that time, there was no smartphone or no BlackBerry phone, no instant messaging kind of phone. It was just all these flip phones. So I can only just dial a number. So I had my phone with me, fortunately. So I had to call my sister. And my sister was now the one that spoke with him and pleaded with him. And then he eventually opened the door by like 10 a.m. Sunday morning. So
you say, okay, are you not saying you slept?
I slept over in the living room.
In the sitting room till 10 in the morning.
Sunday morning. And then by that time, my son was awake, crying for mommy. I want mommy. I want money. He refused to let me have access to him until after my family made me beg him. And I had to too. And that was how I was let out. And it was like, don't push me. It was more like, apologize for you pushing me to that extreme. It wasn't more like, I'm sorry for what I did. Let's move past it. That was the experience I would say that stayed with me. Like I said, it stayed with me a long time. And I just knew I was in for it.
So how did that experience change you in the marriage?
It changed me a lot. I won't lie to you, sir. It changed me because now I knew for certain what I'm working with. Now I've accepted the reality that, okay, it is not enough that this person was very manipulative. Now it doesn't even want me to be financially independent. And once you don't have finances, how can you take care of yourself? How can you fight for your freedom? So that dawned on me, like in reality, what I was working with. And I will say, even though as an individual, I was somebody who was very particular about having our own finances as a woman, that doubled or tripled my desire. So I became more agile, more forceful about having my own independence financially. So even though he was vehemently opposing me, the more opposition I get, the stronger I became. Because at that time I told myself, I'm doing this for me and my kids. So I went ahead in my business without any support from him. I kept doing it. I had support from my family and I was very entrepreneurial. I have entrepreneurial spirit to myself and God blessed me too. My business boomed.
So I want to ask a question. During courtship, was there any discussion about you being financially independent?
No, there was no conversation about finances. Who will be the breadwinner? You be a stay-at-home mom while I be the breadwinner. There was no conversations like that. Remember, even when we met, I was in school, like I said, right? So it was more like, finish your school. Of course, you get a job. I was working prior to the real marriage, so there was no conversation about I want you home all the time without working.
So what helped you survive the moment you thought you won't?
I think I would say God, because, when you are faced with such a very daring situation with no way out. I remember I was in my early 20s here. So I was there about 24 years old when this was happening. So imagine a young woman having a child and going through this with a society, it was no support from your own society and the government, of course. So I just knew I was in for myself. But I had God, and He was there for me. He blessed the little I was doing, and also my kids too. The fact that I said I would never want my kids to go through what I was going through. I never want my son at that time to become the kind of man I was married to. I want him to be different. So whatever it would take for me to get from where I am to where I want to be, I was willing to fight it on and just go for it. I was determined. Yeah.
So what gives you hope on days when hope feels distant in the marriage?
Yeah, that question is two-faced, honestly. Even while married, what gave me hope was the will to survive, the will to not allow my kids experience the same thing I was experiencing. And I will not even say only my kids, even nieces, nephew, anybody I like around me, they shouldn't have to go through what I was going through. I think that strong determination kept me going. And of course, the God factor was there too. He helped me all through it all. And up until now, I will not lie, I still have some flashbacks as to be honest, I was able to pull through those periods. So I would say mainly it was my prayer to God, drawing close to Him, and me being determined, and also wanting the best for my kids, wanting to be the best mother I could be. I think that was what actually kept me through until now. Even when I'm feeling down or downhearted as to my situation, as to where I am, and I'm feeling stuck, not being able to move on, I think about, like they always say in Africa, is the person that gave up that is finished, right? So I'm not giving up, not now. I didn't give up almost 8 years ago. Why am I going to give up now? I've never even given up almost 20 years ago, almost, let's say 16 years ago when the marriage started. Not now.
Well, let's wrap it up on this episode 2. We have episode 3 coming up. Thank you for sharing your story. Your story matters, your voice matters, and silence will no longer protect abuse. That's what I'm going to tell everybody. If you're going through abuse, I think if you keep it in silence, that will protect you. It will not protect you. You need to voice out. And thank you, anonymous guests, for showing up. And watch out for episode 3.